chosen one. This community is freaking out over you, and for good reason. Your intuition has become scarily accurate, and what you know is shaking foundations that were never meant to move. Group chats are buzzing, people are deleting old messages, trying to rewrite history before the truth fully surfaces. So if you've been feeling the tension, the strange energy, the eyes watching, you're not imagining it. You've become the mirror revealing everything they've tried to keep hidden, and they can't handle the reflection. Think back to when you first encountered this group. Maybe it was a workplace, maybe it was a spiritual community, maybe it was a social circle, or even family dynamics. Wherever it was, you walked into a space where someone had positioned themselves as the authority, the leader, the one everyone else orbited around, and initially you were wanted in that orbit too. Something in you caught attention, your genuine spiritual gifts, your authentic energy, your natural ability to connect with people. The initial thought was that you could add credibility to the facade being maintained. Your real gifts could make the fake version look more legitimate, so you were pulled close, you were made to feel special. An offer of belonging appeared, along with connection and a seat at the table. But there was a price attached. There's always a price with these types. You were supposed to recognize the hierarchy. You were supposed to know your place. You were supposed to make certain people feel important, validated, superior. You were supposed to dim your light so others could appear brighter. You were supposed to seek approval, follow the lead, accept the presented version of reality without question. Your spirit wouldn't cooperate. Something deep inside you kept resisting the programming. You'd try to play along, try to fit in, try to be what was expected, but your authentic self kept breaking through. Your intuition kept whispering that something wasn't right. You'd feel the disconnect between spiritual talk and actual energy. You'd notice the gap between what was preached and what was practiced. Worship was needed. You couldn't provide it. Smallness was required. You kept growing. Belief in the image was demanded. You kept seeing through it. And that made you dangerous. That made you a problem. That made you someone who needed to be pushed out before you contaminated the others with your independent thinking and accurate spiritual discernment. So the rejection protocol was activated. The silent treatment, the exclusion, the gossip, the narrative that you were difficult, too sensitive, not a good fit, somehow lacking what it took to be part of the special circle. The door was shut, and the expectation was that you would crumble. The thought was that rejection would break you, that you'd spend months trying to figure out what you did wrong, that you'd eventually come crawling back desperate to be accepted again. That's not what happened, and that's where this whole situation really begins. After being pushed out, something unexpected occurred. Instead of shrinking, you expanded. Instead of breaking, you broke free. The rejection that was meant to destroy you actually liberated you, because without the constant manipulation, without the energy-draining tactics, without the need to keep you small, you finally had space to discover who you really were. Your spiritual gifts exploded into full bloom. Your intuition sharpened to a razor's edge. Your connection to the divine deepened in ways you never experienced while under that influence. You started seeing patterns everywhere. You started understanding human behavior on levels that shocked you. You started knowing things without being told. Your third eye blasted open. Your spiritual sight became crystal clear, and you started speaking. Not carefully, not calculated to expose anyone, just naturally, authentically as part of your healing journey. You'd post something on social media about narcissistic behavior patterns. You'd have a conversation about people who use spirituality as camouflage for darkness. You'd casually mention manipulation tactics, or fake authority figures, or individuals who present one face in public while doing completely different things in private. Panic started setting in. How does this person know? Did someone tell something? Is there a leak in the circle? Are you somehow watching? Nobody could figure out if you had concrete information or if your spiritual gifts were just that powerful. Either option was terrifying, because if you knew this much from a distance, what else might you discover? The paranoia grew. Everything you did started being watched. Your posts were analyzed. Your movements were tracked. Attempts were made to figure out your sources, and with every passing day, your intuition got stronger, your posts got more specific, your spiritual authority grew more obvious. You weren't seeking revenge, you weren't even thinking about the group most of the time, you were just healing, growing, and speaking your truth. But your truth kept accidentally exposing lies. Your intuition has been warning you, your ancestors have been protecting you. There were actual plans made against you, real schemes designed to hurt you, frighten you, destabilize your life. Your growth couldn't be allowed to continue. Your truth-speaking couldn't be permitted to persist. The risk of you figuring out the full extent of what had been hidden was too great. So the move happened from passive hope that you'd go away, to active measures designed to make you go away. The goal was to create chaos in your life, to damage your reputation, to cause harm that would either silence you or keep you too distracted to pay attention. Money changed hands. Conversations happened in shadowy places. Deals were made with people who operate outside respectable society. Your intuition picked up on back-alley meetings, didn't it? You sensed associations with individuals whose energy felt dangerous, criminal even. You were right. These so-called spiritual leaders, these pillars of the community, were meeting with people who could cause serious problems, hiring people to do things that couldn't be directly connected back to the source. Something was supposed to happen to you. An injury, a mugging, a robbery. Your job was supposed to be sabotaged. Your reputation was supposed to be destroyed. Something significant was planned. Resources were invested. Arrangements were made. The thought was that finally there was a solution to the problem you represented. And then nothing happened. The person hired backed out at the last minute. The money disappeared unexpectedly. The timing fell apart inexplicably. The opportunity dissolved mysteriously. Again, and again, and again. Every scheme simply fell apart before it could touch you. There was no understanding of why nothing was working. What wasn't known was that your ancestors had been blocking every single attack. Your spiritual team had been dismantling plans before manifestation. Divine protection surrounded you like an impenetrable shield. Each failure made desperation grow. More paranoia set in. More willingness developed to try increasingly reckless things. More people were brought into the circle, told about concerns regarding you. Recruitment attempts were made to help deal with the problem. But every expansion of the conspiracy created more cracks, more distrust, more opportunities for the whole operation to collapse. If this resonates with your inner knowing, hype this video to help fellow chosen ones find their way here. You're picking up on details you shouldn't logically know. You're mentioning things in passing that mirror exact conversations. You're posting observations that describe specific methods. You're speaking truths that sound like you were in the room when plans were made. This is what's driving the absolute insanity. Carefulness was maintained. Strategy was employed. The circle was kept tight. Operational security was preserved. Who knew what was limited? And yet somehow, you keep saying things that align perfectly with hidden reality. It's like you have access to information that should be impossible for you to have. Your intuition works differently than what can be understood through conventional thinking. Evidence, proof, witnesses, documentation are the familiar terms. What can't be comprehended is that spiritual sight operates outside those parameters. You're not getting your information through conventional channels. You're receiving downloads directly from the divine. You're tapping into energetic frequencies that carry truth regardless of physical distance or secrecy. When meetings happen in shadowy places, when private conversations occur, when plans are made behind closed doors, the assumption is that everything stays hidden. What isn't realized is that energy carries information. Actions leave imprints in the spiritual realm. Intentions create vibrations that sensitive people can detect. And you, chosen one, you're extraordinarily sensitive to these frequencies. Operation comes from a limited understanding of reality. The thinking goes that if something isn't physical, it isn't real. If something can't be measured, it doesn't exist. If something can't be explained scientifically, it must be coincidence or luck. This blindness to spiritual reality is exactly what makes vulnerability exist to someone like you. You're seeing energy signatures. You're reading vibrational output. You're picking up on the dissonance between what gets projected and what actually exists. When smiles appear while harm is being plotted, you feel the contradiction. When love is spoken while hatred is harbored, you sense the incongruence. When light is presented while darkness is the operation, you detect the falseness. Power has been built on deception working, on people accepting the surface presentation without looking deeper, on maintaining the gap between image and reality. But your intuition collapses that gap. Your spiritual sight sees through the performance. Your divine connection reveals what's hidden, and that makes the entire operation unsustainable. Your intuition isn't just picking up on surface behaviors, you're seeing systemic patterns, recognizing cycles, understanding the methodology behind the madness. You've noticed how targets get selected, how people get groomed for exploitation, how dependency gets created, how individuals get isolated from other support systems, how intermittent reinforcement keeps people hooked. You've observed the hierarchy, who really holds power, and who just appears to, who makes decisions, and who just enforces them, who benefits most, and who's being used. You can see the puppet strings, even when others can only see the puppets. This structural awareness makes you exceptionally dangerous, because you understand, not just what's happening, but how the entire system functions. A specific sequence is followed. First comes the love bombing, the excessive attention, the validation, the promises, making you feel special, chosen, uniquely understood. Your desires get mirrored back to you. The offering seems to be exactly what you've been seeking. An experience of perfect belonging gets created. This phase is designed to bypass your critical thinking and create emotional attachment before you can properly evaluate what you're getting into. Then comes the testing. Small requests to see if compliance will occur. Slight boundary violations to see if speaking up will happen. Minor manipulations to assess your level of awareness. Gauging is happening about how much control can be established, how far pushing can go before resistance appears, whether you're someone who stands firm or someone who can be gradually conditioned to accept increasingly unacceptable things. When signs of independent thinking show up, a shift happens to destabilization. Suddenly the warmth disappears. The validation stops. Confusion arrives about what changed. This is deliberate. Anxiety and self-doubt are being created. You're being made to question yourself. Desperation is being manufactured to return to that initial feeling of acceptance. Willingness is being cultivated to compromise boundaries, to restore the connection. If destabilization doesn't bring the desired result, the move happens to isolation. The group gets turned against you. Whispered concerns get spread about your behavior, your attitude, your loyalty. You're made to feel like the problem, like if you would just change, just comply, just submit, everything would be fine again. This isolation is designed to break your will, to make you so desperate for belonging that terms will be accepted regardless of cost. You saw through all of this, maybe not immediately. Maybe you went through some of these phases before your intuition kicked into high gear, but eventually, you recognized the pattern. You saw the manipulation for what it was. You understood that the system required your compliance, and you refused to give it. Something significant is happening beyond just your individual situation. Other people who've interacted with this community are starting to wake up. Your willingness to trust your intuition and speak your truth has created permission for others to do the same. People who've been carrying private doubts are starting to voice them. People who've had strange experiences are starting to compare notes. People who felt something was off are starting to trust that feeling. A collective awakening is happening around this group, and it's absolutely terrifying to those involved, because one person speaking truth can be dismissed as bitter, jealous, mentally unstable or vengeful. But multiple people sharing similar observations, that becomes a pattern that's harder to deny. That starts looking like corroboration. That begins to seem like evidence. You're not actively organizing this awakening. You're not reaching out to former members or trying to build a case. You're simply living your truth and speaking your experience. But your example is powerful. It shows others that breaking free is possible, that acknowledging what was seen is safe, that intuition wasn't wrong. Your accurate intuition isn't just personal knowledge anymore. It's become a catalyst for collective truth-telling. And collective truth-telling is the death of systems built on deception. This is why concern exists, not just about what you know. Panic exists about what your knowing is inspiring in others. People are watching this unfold who've never interacted with this community directly. But learning is happening from your example. Seeing is occurring. That intuition is reliable. That spiritual discernment is real. That seeing through false appearances is possible. That standing in your truth matters even when you can't prove everything you know. Your situation is teaching lessons that extend far beyond this specific group. When you were attacked, it wasn't just a person being attacked. Someone under divine protection was the target. War was declared against forces that aren't believed in, and therefore can't be defended against. Conventional weapons were brought to a spiritual battlefield, and the loss has been total. Every curse sent your way became a blessing in disguise. Every scheme plotted became an opportunity for your growth. Every attack launched became evidence of your spiritual favor. Proof has been inadvertently provided that you're protected by demonstrating the inability to harm you despite best efforts. Your ancestors have been fighting battles in dimensions these people can't perceive. When negative energy was sent toward you, your spiritual team deflected it. When harm was tried to be manifested, divine forces redirected intentions. When dark energies were called on, light beings intervened on your behalf. An entire war has been happening that only you could feel through intuitive hits and synchronistic protection. Your protection isn't passive, it's actively dismantling operations. Every failed attack exposes lack of real power. Every bounced curse reveals disconnection from genuine spiritual authority. Every blocked scheme demonstrates that operation is happening against universal law. Failure isn't just occurring to harm you. Self-destruction is happening in the attempt. This is what happens when standing happens against someone who's truly chosen. The universe itself becomes the adversary. Divine timing works against those who oppose you. Spiritual law ensures actions return multiplied. Protection surrounds you that can't be penetrated. The architect of downfall becomes the attacker themselves. Experience is happening of this, but understanding doesn't exist. The thinking is that bad luck is occurring. The belief is that circumstances are randomly turning against the attackers. The assumption is that coincidence explains why everything tried fails. Recognition doesn't exist. That positioning has happened against forces that govern reality itself, and those forces are ensuring that anyone who tries to harm you faces immediate and overwhelming consequences. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. The beauty is you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Your gifts don't stop with these specific people. Your discernment extends to reading energy anywhere, reading situations, reading people, reading hidden dynamics in any context. This is why your development matters beyond this immediate situation. You're not just learning to protect yourself from one group of manipulators. You're developing the spiritual sight that will serve you for the rest of your life. Every time your intuition proves accurate, you're building trust in your ability to perceive truth. Every time your knowing gets validated, you're strengthening your confidence in your gifts. The community freaking out over you represents a much larger phenomenon. Systems of control depend on people not trusting their own perception. Manipulation works when people doubt what they're sensing. Deception succeeds when people dismiss their intuitive warnings, but you're demonstrating that intuition is not only real but more reliable than surface appearances. This has implications far beyond your personal situation. You're part of a larger awakening happening across consciousness. People everywhere are starting to trust their intuitive knowing, starting to honor their spiritual sight, starting to recognize that perception of truth can happen beyond what's physically visible, and every person who activates this capacity weakens the power of deception everywhere. Your accuracy is creating fear because it represents a feared future, a future where people can't be easily fooled, where manipulation doesn't work as reliably, where hidden agendas get exposed quickly, where fake spiritual authority gets recognized immediately, where authentic connection with the divine becomes the norm rather than the exception. Power was built in an environment where most people were spiritually asleep, where intuition was dismissed as superstition, where spiritual gifts were considered imaginary, where claiming to sense hidden truths would get you labeled as crazy. But that environment is changing, and you're part of that change. Your scarily accurate intuition is helping create a new reality where spiritual discernment is recognized, respected, and relied upon. There was a specific moment when everything clicked into place for you. Maybe you can pinpoint it exactly. Maybe it was more gradual, but there came a time when your intuition suddenly crystallized from vague feelings into clear knowing, when the full picture of who these people really were became absolutely transparent, the double lives being lived, the vulnerable people being targeted and manipulated, the darkness being hidden behind spiritual language and community standing. You saw them, truly saw them, truly saw them, not just their tactics but their character, not just their lies but their motivation, not just what was being hidden but why it needed to stay hidden. Your spiritual sight penetrated every layer of carefully constructed image and revealed the reality underneath. And in that moment you realized something powerful that changed everything. You were never the problem. You were the threat to their problem. Your authentic spirituality threatened their fake version. Your genuine gifts exposed their performance. Your real connection to the divine revealed their disconnection. You were light walking into a space kept deliberately dark, and darkness cannot coexist with light. One has to yield. Attempts were made to extinguish your light. Instead, your light kept growing brighter until it started exposing everything meant to stay hidden. Your ancestors had been guiding you all along, every synchronicity that kept you out of harm's way, every gut feeling that made you avoid a dangerous situation, every unexpected change of plans that redirected you from where you were supposed to be when something bad was supposed to happen. All of it was orchestrated protection. Your spiritual team had been fighting battles you didn't even know were happening. And now the protection intensified, because you weren't just randomly favored. You were chosen for something specific. Your accurate intuition, your spiritual gifts, your ability to see through deception weren't just personal abilities. These were tools you needed for your purpose, and that purpose required you to be protected from people who would try to stop you from fulfilling it. You changed the entire dynamic without saying a word. Your presence alone shifts the energy. People operating in deception feel uncomfortable around you, even if conversation never happens about what you sense. Your energy field carries truth frequency, and truth frequency disrupts lies automatically. You've probably noticed how differently people act around you now compared to before your awakening. Some become overly friendly, trying too hard to appear genuine. Others become defensive without you saying anything challenging. Still others simply disappear from your sphere entirely. All of these responses tell you something. Your intuitive accuracy creates a field that people either resonate with or recoil from depending on what they're carrying. This gift you have isn't just about knowing things. It's about being a walking truth detector, a living lie detector test, a human filter that separates authentic from fake simply by existing in proximity. And you can't turn this off even if you wanted to. It's who you are now. It's what you've become through your transformation. And it's exactly what you need to be for what's coming next in your journey. Your accuracy extends beyond just reading individuals. You can walk into organizations and sense the health of the culture within minutes. You can observe groups and identify power dynamics immediately. You can listen to public presentations and know what's being left unsaid. You can watch interactions and understand the subtext that others miss completely. This comprehensive discernment makes you invaluable for your true purpose, and incredibly dangerous to any system built on hidden agendas. Every time you trust your intuition publicly, you give permission to someone else to trust theirs. Every time you speak a truth that others were afraid to voice, you create space for more truth to be spoken. Every time you stand firm in your knowing despite pressure to doubt yourself, you show someone else that standing firm is possible. You're creating a permission structure just by being yourself. People who've been suppressing their own intuitive hits see you honoring yours and think maybe they should honor theirs too. People who've been dismissing their gut feelings as paranoia see your accuracy and wonder if their feelings were accurate too. People who've been trained to ignore spiritual knowing see your gifts in action and remember that they have gifts waiting to be activated. The impact you're having is exponential. Each person you inspire inspires others. Each person who activates their intuition because of your example goes on to inspire more activations. Each person who chooses truth over comfort because you demonstrated it's possible creates more choosing. You're not just one person standing in truth. You're a catalyst for a movement of truth standing that spreads organically through inspiration. This is why such intense focus remains on you, because you're not just one escaped member. You're the spark that could ignite widespread awakening. You're the crack in the dam that could lead to total collapse. You're the proof of concept that the system can be seen through and walked away from successfully. And success stories are contagious in ways that terrify those whose power depends on people believing escape isn't possible. Look back at the timing of events in your journey, the moment you were pushed out, the speed of your spiritual development afterward, the exact timing of when your gifts activated, the precision of when protection showed up to block attacks, the synchronicity of when certain people entered or exited your life. None of this was random. All of it was orchestrated. You were pushed out exactly when you needed to be freed. Not a moment too soon when you might have gone back. Not a moment too late when more damage could have occurred. Right at the perfect time for your liberation and transformation to begin. Divine timing doesn't operate on human schedules. It operates on soul schedules. And your soul schedule required you to be where you are right now. The attacks that were planned against you failed not just because of protection, but because of timing. Attempts were made when divine intervention was already positioned to intercept. Money ran out at precisely the moment it would have been used against you. People backed out exactly when their participation would have caused harm. Opportunities dissolved right before they could manifest into problems. This level of precision isn't coincidence. This is divine choreography. Your gifts activated at the exact moment you were ready to handle them, not earlier when they might have overwhelmed you. Not later when you would have needed them already. Right when your consciousness expanded enough to receive them and your confidence grew enough to trust them. Spiritual gifts don't activate randomly. Activation happens when readiness meets necessity, and you became ready exactly when necessity arrived. Even the timing of who learned about your situation was controlled. The right people found out at the right time to provide support. The wrong people were kept from information that could have been weaponized. Protectors appeared when protection was needed. Witnesses showed up when validation mattered. Allies materialized when strength in numbers became important. Every connection happened with purpose and precision. You're learning to trust divine timing now. Learning that when something doesn't happen when you think it should, it's because the timing isn't right yet. Learning that delays aren't denials but divine scheduling. Learning that what's meant for you can't miss you and what's not meant for you can't catch you. This trust in timing is another level of your spiritual maturity, another layer of your development, another aspect of your preparation for what's ahead. The precision of divine timing also shows up in when things get revealed to you. Information comes exactly when you're ready to receive it and know what to do with it. Not earlier when it would overwhelm or confuse you. Not later when you would have already needed it. Right at the moment your consciousness can handle the truth and your wisdom knows how to respond. This is why your intuitive downloads have been perfectly timed throughout this journey. Every piece of the puzzle has been given to you at the exact right moment, early enough to protect you, late enough that you could understand the significance, timed perfectly so you could see patterns forming rather than isolated incidents that might be dismissed. Divine intelligence has been orchestrating the revelation of truth in a sequence that builds your confidence, strengthens your discernment, and prepares you for each next level. You're also learning that divine timing includes perfect delays, opportunities that didn't work out when you wanted them to, doors that stayed closed when you were pushing to open them, connections that didn't form when you were trying to force them. All of these apparent delays were divine protection keeping you from situations that looked right, but weren't aligned with your highest path. Gratitude is developing for closed doors, because now you understand saving you from wrong paths was happening. Trust is building not just in your intuition, but in the divine orchestration of your entire life. Understanding is growing that you're not navigating this alone. That intelligence far beyond human comprehension has been guiding every step. That what looks like chaos from ground level is actually perfect order from a higher perspective. That every experience, including the painful ones, has been purposeful in your development. This trust changes how you move through the world. You're no longer anxious about outcomes, because trust exists that right outcomes will manifest at right times. You're no longer desperate for control because recognition exists that divine control is already operating. You're no longer stressed about timing because faith exists that divine timing is more precise than anything you could calculate. This surrendered trust is actually the highest form of power because it aligns you with forces that govern reality itself. The community that's freaking out over you doesn't understand any of this. Understanding doesn't exist that you're not operating from human strategy but divine guidance. Recognition hasn't happened that your intuition isn't a skill you developed but a gift you activated. Comprehension is absent that your protection isn't luck but spiritual law in action. This lack of understanding is exactly why defeat keeps happening for them while victory keeps happening for you. You're playing a completely different game now, operating by completely different rules, accessing completely different resources. While energy is being spent trying to manipulate human circumstances, you're aligned with forces that create circumstances. While schemes are being plotted on a human level, you're being guided from a divine level. While limitation is being operated from, you're operating from infinite possibility. This is what it means to be truly chosen. Not that you're better than others, but that you've been selected for a specific assignment that requires specific gifts and specific protection. Your accurate intuition is one of those gifts. Your divine protection is part of that selection. Your spiritual authority is preparation for that assignment. Everything you've been through has been developing you into who you need to be for what you're being called to do. This is where you need to make a decision. Are you going to own who you really are? Are you going to step fully into your spiritual authority? Are you going to claim the protection that's already yours? Are you going to walk in the power you've been developing? Because chosen one, you're standing at a threshold. Behind you is the old version of yourself who questioned, doubted, wondered if things were being imagined. Ahead of you is the fully awakened version, who knows, who trusts, who walks in certainty. You know what you know. Stop downplaying it. Stop questioning it. Stop letting anyone make you doubt the accuracy of your intuition. You've been right about the tactics, about the hidden activities, about the true character underneath the masks. You weren't imagining it. You weren't being paranoid. You weren't making assumptions. You were receiving accurate spiritual information. Own that. You have protection that can't be penetrated. Stop being afraid of attacks. Stop worrying about schemes. Stop letting threats intimidate you. Everything has been tried. Nothing worked. Nothing will work. You're covered by spiritual forces that operate beyond human manipulation. You can't be touched. You never could be. You never will be. Know that. Your purpose is bigger than their drama. Stop giving energy to those who don't deserve it. Stop letting chaos distract you from your calling. Stop focusing on their fall when you should be focusing on your rise. Concern for them isn't yours anymore. The universe's problem is what became of them. Your concern is fulfilling the assignment you were chosen for. Do that. You're the person who survived attacks and came out stronger. You're the person who developed spiritual gifts beyond comprehension. You're the person who connected with divine forces beyond access. You're the person who sees through every lie, tactic, and manipulation that gets tried. You're the person who's protected, guided, blessed, and favored. You're the person who's stepping into a purpose bigger than anything that was tried to be destroyed. Your intuition isn't just accurate. It's a weapon with no defense available against it. Not because you're trying to hurt anyone, but because truth naturally exposes lies. Light naturally reveals darkness. Authentic power naturally unmasks false authority. You don't have to do anything to anyone. Your very existence, your growth, your alignment with truth is enough to threaten everything built on deception. So let the panic happen. Let the sleep be lost. Let the emergency meetings and frantic conversations occur. Let the wondering continue about what you know and what you're going to do with that knowledge. Let the watching happen as their world falls apart while yours comes together. Let the experience unfold of consequences for choosing darkness while you experience the rewards of choosing light. The community is freaking out. Good, let it happen. You've got kingdoms to build and destinies to claim. You've got gifts to develop and purposes to fulfill. You've got mountains to move and legacies to create. And every step you take forward, every boundary you enforce, every blessing you receive, every gift you activate, is confirmation that you are exactly who you've always been told you are. You are chosen, you are protected, you are powerful, you are purposed, and your victory isn't coming. It's already here, it's already written, it's already done in the spiritual realm. Now it's just manifesting in physical reality for everyone to see, including them, especially them. So understanding can finally arrive about what was really being dealt with when someone came against a person genuinely chosen by the divine. This is not the end of your story. This is the end of their chapter in your story. Your story continues, bigger, brighter, better, and absolutely unstoppable.